Okay, I just have a brief epilogue and want to cover a few little points that I missed, that I've discovered I missed in the first 4 episodes. So I'll try to go through these quickly. Um, first of all, I, very quickly, I found the beach house. That was a CMIS that we stayed in the early 1950s, and parents on the trips to Ocean City. So that was one thing. On the issue of what my father said about when he saw the mattress in the dorm room, I just thought I would show a picture of a mattress. Again, the old wives' tales, I meant to include that. There was also the issue, I'll just mention, with friends, particularly John, when he came up and visited me, he was naive about what people thought gay people did, and I don't want to be indelicate trying to keep this PG-13, but that was a big mystery to a lot of people then. It was a big mystery as to what really went on. Everybody thought it was about hanging around Johns and so forth. That was the level at which house people thought then, back in the early 1960s and the 50s and so forth. And the Red Scare and McCarthyism and all of that, that's where people were. I think Lisa Ling has covered that on This Is Life on CNN. That's a good thing to look at. The next thing I kind of want to get to and I'll get to that picture at GWU in just a minute. I did take a draft physical in Richmond in September of 1964. I graduated from GW in January of 1966, but in the fall of 1964, which was when I was starting to play chess, I did take the first draft physical. I was marked 4F, and I was asked about homosexual tendencies during the exam, and that would change later, but that's the next video. I noticed, there was a huge number of men in the room naked, and they treated us in a very kind of abusively, threatening us with state pen and so forth. But one or two of them were very undeveloped, and that says something about maybe intersex or about what's going on now. I still remember that from that draft physical. So that's that. Also, the issue of the tribunals. I didn't mention, if you were to make a film of that episode, you'd probably want to show me, spying on them through a basement window or something so you could show it. Or later on, when we have another person in that line at the student union talking about them and talking about, well, his leg hair grew back or something, when we were talking about that one time, you could have him, you could show his recollection of it in black and white as a flashback. But in a movie, you would want to actually show that scene to show what really happened in these hazing ceremonies. I meant to mention that. Maybe one of the most important things is that when I was at NIH, and I'll go back over here, when I was at NIH, in October of 1962, remember, I was able to go to school at night. I had to pass to leave in the late afternoon on the bus and go into town and go to GW. And so I happened to be in the student union building, which is now the psychology department at GW. But I happened to be in the student union building the night that President Kennedy announced the discovery of bases in Cuba and the start of the Cuban Missile Crisis. I would come back to the unit, and nobody, not even the staff, seemed to know what was going on. For 2 weeks, they paid very little attention to it. And one time at lunch, in the middle of the day, I sort of made jokes about who was fit enough to survive the world if there was a nuclear attack. What would really happen? And we would be kind of burdens on society. That's how we would be viewed, because society would be trying to survive at all and restart itself if it even could. And it was a very dark thing to say. I'll also mention that the nurses kept a log of every day of everything they saw us say and do. And I actually got a copy of that, of my own patient records. I actually got a copy of all their logs they made of all the patients. and I lost it when I moved here. The moving company accidentally threw it out instead of packing it, so I've lost that. But it's given HIPAA and everything, it's probably not appropriate for me to have it anymore. It would be a question of the privacy of the other patients who were at NIH at the time. But I actually, saw comments like one time, one guy took off another guy's shirt as a jest, and I made some kind of comment about his body, and the nurses wrote that down as to what my interests in things were. I also just wanted to mention that when I was at the National Bureau of Standards, that set of pictures, that's now the University of DC campus. I actually dropped chemistry because I was taking organic chemistry at night, and I cut my hand in a lab accident, and they didn't allow makeup, so there was no way I could continue the course, and I really couldn't continue majoring in chemistry at that point. So I wound up majoring in math, which would set up my graduate school and assistantship and so forth in the next episode. So that would be pretty much it. And with the episode, so that would conclude this set of videos, and I do thank you for listening.